Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today is Wednesday, March 25th. Now, first thing to address is that on Monday, something went wrong with my software. Like, it just kind of stopped recording at the hour and 20 minute mark. No good explanation for that. All I can assume is that it was OBS's new version screwing up. It the only other thought is that I had unplugged my microphone, and then just because my back was hurting so much, I plugged it into the extension cord for my Xbox One controller, which might have put it in a different USB slot and maybe caused something to happen, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it certainly was something was going on with my computer that shouldn't have been going wrong, for sure. That was messing up the USB inputs while not freezing the computer totally. So yeah, who knows on that. The good news is, while we did look at a lot of games and cover a decent amount of news, that was probably by far the worst stream I've ever done in my life. I was just in such incredible pain. I still am in a lot of pain, but now I figured out that icing my back and now my hips, probably secondarily because of my back, have been hurting quite a bit, and putting ice on it helps. Now I'm risking potentially getting frostbite just by putting frozen ice bags directly on my back, and I need to be more careful about that. So yeah, you really didn't miss a lot, and I'm not going to go back and try and recover too much of that. Yesterday, I did get a couple of pre-recorded footage for Curse of Monkey Island, but more importantly, since I was mostly trying to recover in bed, I spent a decent amount of time getting all 15 wins. So I powered up on the weekly rewards and the daily rewards, and we are a little bit faster in the mastery. Let's start with the store, since that is the least connected to all of this. They've started to not show the button if you don't have the gold, which is interesting because that does then imply that they're not trying to make a path. Most free-to-play games would have a path where you'd click on the gold and then it would go, oops, you don't have enough gold, go to this purchase page to buy more gold. Daily deals today, nothing of interest. Instead, they're trying to keep it separate and only have it be gems, which, okay, I mean, that is a slight improvement over some free-to-play games, but it really doesn't stop the same old complaints of Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro being super greedy. So we have 21 days to basically get 2 levels to ensure we get everything as far as the mastery tree and the skins because of that. And then every level on top of that is just an uncommon card, which will help, certainly. I did also, through the daily quests, get a pack here, a Ravnica pack. And I got a decent amount of cards just on daily quests. So we need to go to the collection. And yes, the audio is still completely off. I'm just waiting till there's like an update. So I got a new copy of that one, that one, that one. First copy of this one. Third copy of that one. Fourth copy of that one. And second copy of that one. So yeah, some decent cards just from daily deals. Where are we on our profile, by the way? Ranked play. We've got 6 more days if we're going to try to get to platinum. We need to play red or green spells. The Brawlers Guild Hall is here. and I think it's free to play until April 16th. I think this was already a thing that went away and came back. Otherwise, I just missed it. They also do have now this historic ranked, or at least they did. Yeah, they've added this historic ranked as an idea. And there's a Wednesday Brawl, which I still have no interest in doing that. So we could do this if we had more gold, and we could do a Ravnica Draft Allegiance to get more gems, and we probably should. Next expansion, the expansion after this expansion, we might be in real trouble as far as gems go. Just depending on how much the mastery set really ends up giving you in gems. Alright, so green and red. We haven't played red in a while, so let's try that. And hop in there. And let's start covering the news, because we have a decent amount of news to cover. One thing that I think is probably not a glitch with YouTube, of course there are lots of glitches with YouTube, is the fact that for at least yesterday, if not the day before, if not this whole week, there has been this case where I launch the YouTube app on my Android phone and go to my subscriptions page, not the home page that gives you random suggestions, not the thing that they really would prefer you to use and only use, not the non-algorithm page, the subscriptions page. And instead of it giving me the subscriptions page, it's giving me the algorithm page or a copy of it. So that is particularly terrifying if this is a small or even large experiment on YouTube's part while everybody is self-isolating, to just force people into the algorithm viewing and only the algorithm viewing, and get rid of subscriptions as a concept in total. Although as a content creator, it might as well be the case that they get rid of the sub button and stop using that as a metric at all. But that would certainly probably hurt content creators in the longer run. People are not going to always see every new PewDiePie video if they're subscribed to PewDiePie, if they're only going to their homepage, particularly if YouTube decides they don't want PewDiePie to show up on the homepage. It's giving all control over as far as what is offered to you to YouTube is a bad idea by far, because we've seen when YouTube does make these when the algorithm does make suggestions, it does it in a very divisive and undesirable way. Like nobody really wants to just watch what's suggested. And personally, I still get suggested a lot of garbage, a lot of repetition too. Like, even if they are suggesting videos to me that I would want to watch, they're suggesting videos to me I've already watched, and YouTube should know that because I watched them on my account. So yeah, a full algorithm experience is not what I'm looking for. That gets it back to the idea of a TV channel. Let's see, well, let's see if we can kill this before he does his action. Use 2 spells. Yeah, I don't want to get back to it. I don't want YouTube to be like a TV channel where ABC says, this is what's in our primetime lineup, this is what you're going to see, these are the commercials that you're going to see, these are the shows you're going to see, and you don't have any choice in watching it in what you get to pick. So yeah, the small benefit of maybe I could get back into the YouTube partner program and make a few pennies on videos if I didn't have to meet that 1,000 subscriber um, requirement sounds appealing on the face of it, but it's not really, because they'd almost certainly, if they did get rid of the subscription requirement, they'd almost certainly bump up the number of watch hours requirement to a massive amount, or they would go back to some other metric that would be even crazier, like what's how many likes you get or how much interaction you get, which I don't get a ton of likes or interactions, so that'd still be kind of a problem. Alright, so yeah, that's scary, and I'm hoping it's just a bug, but I think they're doing a small experiment. Let's see. Moving on, we should just cover the news. I am a bit chipper. I was super low energy, super in pain Monday. Even I can recognize that. Like, sure, there have been several occasions where people just use low energy as an insult, or you don't talk like a human as an insult, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Give better criticism or deal with it or go away. Like, that's really my general response to things like that. But even I have to admit I was barely in shape, and there may come a time, because there's certainly a lot of opportunity here for relapse. There may very well come a time where I am straight up gonna have to do live streams from a bed, which would sound really bad. Like, the good news is my computer room is also my bedroom, so I could just move the microphone over a few feet and lie directly in bed and try and talk. The bad news is that is going to put you just physically in such a position. It's going to put me physically in such a position that I'm just not upright. Thus, I'm not going to be bringing in enough oxygen into my lungs to sound like I'm anything other than either on my deathbed or half asleep. So yeah, that's a problem. Excuse me. I did spend some time playing around with Amazon Prime, looking at I watched Demon City Shinjuku, which is an old 90s direct-to-video, very long movie with a lot of elements just added together. It really is an anime movie that is from a time that that is bygone. And let's see, 2, 3. It is really from a time when people didn't know how to convert what I imagine would have been a decent, like, 4-volume manga into TV. Let's see. And so it just turns into a really long movie. I think also in the translation from Japanese to English, there is a level of, well, yeah. In converting it from a Japanese product to an English product, it probably was sold as 2 or 3 VHSs originally. And maybe it's not even the 90s. It might very well be an early 80s thing. But what's really surprising is just looking at that old art style again, and looking at all the characters and how they just look so Japanese. Black hair, solid black hair, traditional drawing style. It very tall, not a hint of the more modern Moe art style in it, like at all. And it really is amazing how many decades, in so few decades really, how much the art style has shifted, to the point where they look almost completely unconnected. If somebody told you that something from an 80s anime was from like Korea and 90s anime and modern anime is from Japan, that would be a very believable split there. Also, major focus in just more traditional Oni demon fighting and magic and like Japanese martial arts and Ninpo in that case. Major influence on just throwing a little bit of sci-fi in it. A lot of monster, a lot of horror. Whereas right now the big focus is more of a fantasy RPG worlds that are isekai style shows where a protagonist who can't really do anything with his life in the real world ends up going to a fantasy different world and becoming the hero of that different world. Although there were definitely things like that in the 80s and 90s also, they weren't anywhere as fashionable. It is kind of amazing just how fad-based the Japanese in general are, and how quickly that has them swing from one popular concept to another. Of course, there's probably a big reason for that in the fact that their emperor about a couple hundred years ago told them to just basically abandon all of their culture and embrace Western imperialist like UK style of clothing, style of talk, all of just style of living. So that their entire generations of previous cultures is now something less than familiar to them, which leaves them on some shaky ground as far as defining who they are. I still haven't gotten any kind of idea on how to play a red deck. Like, I don't think it's particularly a great time to be playing red or mono red. Like, it probably is a decent secondary deck if I played it with something else, but I'd have to figure out what the something else is. I could probably play a red black, but that wouldn't be too much avail since my pure black seems to work fine. It's a little weird you don't get any kind of bonus for playing a monocolor deck. If anything, you get punished for it. Whereas other games would probably want to give you something, or at least have cards that do something around that idea. But yeah, it is hard to prove that your entire deck has red cards without showing your entire deck to your opponent. You'd almost have to play a gamble, like say, swear or promise that you only have red cards, and if you play anything that's not a red card, then that's any other color, then you lose the game immediately. And wouldn't that be an interesting twist? But frankly, that'd just be a disqualification. So yeah, I'm watching bad 80s, 90s and anime on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime's player, at least for my built-in TV app, is still particularly bad. And their selection is only good if you want to watch old movies and old TV. It's nowhere as good as Netflix, in my opinion. if you want to watch something new or something diverse, something more than the common things. I would say an average person probably would have a better experience watching Amazon Prime's lineup than Netflix's lineup, but Netflix's lineup does a pretty decent job for an average person also. I haven't really delved into the realm of looking at Hulu or any of the other services. I kind of just blatantly refuse to get to things like CBS All Access or Hulu. 2 damage to any target. Let's just go ahead and activate this ability in Scry. Don't need that. I don't think we need that either. Alright. So I'm feeling pretty good here. We already did the accountability section, though, like we were just doing it. I'm mostly laid in bed yesterday. I did 2 episodes of Curse of Monkey Island. Curse of Monkey Island still. I finally got out of an incredibly long second act and got into a third act, and it was a pretty straightforward, simplistic third act, so I was able to get through it. It still took too long, in my opinion, but it wasn't anywhere as bad as that second act, because that second act had at least 3 distinct goals, and wandering around an island collecting items that could be used in any of these 3 distinct goals just confused the issue like crazy. And there's just a lot of places you could go and a lot of people you could talk to. And yeah, I was not happy with that second act. And generally I'm not having the best of time with Curse of Monkey Island. It just does not seem to have that Ron Gilbert quality of writing to it. Alright, let's see. So do I want a 5/4 that draws a card, or 5/4 that draws a card? They're the same card. Okay, well then I didn't need to look at that, did I? And I think I'm gonna win here, probably just out of dumb luck more than anything. So let's start covering the news, because there's a decent chance that we still will have something bad happen. And I should just double check to make sure my software is still recording. It seems like it is. I also have the audio probably a little too low on that idle music, but I can't stand to listen to it much louder. Okay. I've got to block this guy, and then he'll do 3 damage or 4 damage. Okay. Do that, play that, and then attack with that. There, we got a victory. Yeah, I guess I'll shout this out. I also spent like an hour yesterday trying to order like toilet paper, and the panic buying on that has just caused it to be impossible to order anywhere. Like, I even went to a paper company that I once did business with when I owned a previous business that definitely ships it to like businesses and warehouses, and even all their websites, just as soon as you got to checkout, they go, nope, we don't have any, and you can't order any. Like, I don't even really mind if I could order it, and if they told me it's showing up like April 15th, at least then you would have a locked in date. But yeah, so if anybody knows any way to get it without literally going to scalpers and rewarding people who were trying to hustle on it, I'll take that comment, certainly. I guess worst case scenarios will get pretty gross, but one will probably be able to survive for quite a while. Like, moving on. TechRaptor has an article. Dark Dreams of Ferraria brings more new content to Neverwinter Nights EE. Seems like Neverwinter Nights is one of these games that just constantly gets new content. I don't know if these are fan mods or if these are just a game that's being constantly supported by the developers. We've seen that. Like, Minecraft is a great example of that in a lot of ways, where like that game could have easily been abandoned years ago, and instead it just constantly gets more and more updates and more content, and that makes it such a great game. And yeah, Minecraft is a great experience right now to be playing if you've got nothing better to do. Like, there's Minecraft is giving away the educational DLC, and I had to log back into my account to try and figure out how to install it, and I still haven't figured out how to get to it for the Java edition. But the launcher certainly has changed since the last time I looked at it. Okay. I can do one of these, but this would be the best one. You do this first, and then do we really need mana? No. And then we'll do this next, and then we'll do that there. Game Sutra has an article. HP, Valve, and Microsoft team up for the next-gen PC VR headset. What's interesting there is Valve and Microsoft teaming up because Gabe Newell kind of hated when he worked at Microsoft, but I think he's just gotten pretty old and gotten over that. Also, it's very questionable how much of Gabe Newell is really running the business. Like, I have this suspicion after rewatching that last interview. I have a suspicion that maybe he is now a bit more of a figurehead, and he does whatever he wants, and certainly, and that's that. But I'm not sure how much of the train he's really driving. He may have ceded a lot of authority to other people because he was barely taking control anyways. Almost certainly he ceded that authority to the rock stars and other members of Valve that own stock in the show. I wouldn't be surprised if Gabe barely has like a majority shareholder stake in Valve. I wouldn't be surprised if he has like 30% and no other individual has more than 10%. But if people group and gang up on him or disagree with him, they can overrule him. Or even if he had like 50% and the entire summation of everybody else who had stock in Valve had 51%, that would be believable. Trample and plus X. Where X is the number of lore counters. So yeah, It's odd bedfellows. Microsoft was doing their augmented reality, that's failed obviously at this point. HP is kind of known for more hardware because they do the printers and the PCs. So getting those three companies together, Valve can try and focus more on the software side, which I think that's really what they want to do. Is they want to do the libraries and the source engine. Microsoft can focus more on the game development side, I guess, out of the three there, and HP can focus more on the hardware side. But there is this just core problem with the idea of yet another VR headset being developed. It is pretty much been consistent that every year or two, at least, one or two new VR headsets get announced, and they are the next big thing, and they are all still way too expensive. Even the budget ones are too expensive for what they're really offering you, where the game lineup still seems to be incredibly bad. And I know Half-Life Alyx is out right now, and I know people are hyped with that, and I will say the small bits of video that I've seen of it does seem like they spent a lot of time programming the game in such a way that any object you can touch, you can pick up, and it feels like the real world. But once you get a company that is not as careful as Valve was making a game, they are going to quickly stop that from happening. They're gonna say, no, we're not gonna have hats and pins that you can pick up, and we're not gonna have anything like that, because we don't need to program every single target, creature, or planeswalker. Trample and haste. I think I can do 4 here, and then attack. So yeah, well, Half-Life Alyx does look pretty good. It's in my opinion, it feels like it's probably the best we're gonna get as far as VR games for a very long time. They're raising the bar, and it's going to be 2 to 4 years before anybody even attempts to reach that bar again or raise it more. There still are also some major issues that are just at the core of VR that aren't being addressed in Half-Life Alyx from what it looks like. You still see hands flowing out of nowhere with no really connectors or arms. It seems really ridiculous that there isn't at least some kind of like sleeve on these floating hands, something that makes it look more like a human. You still have teleportation being the only real effective way to get around. You can, from what I heard, walk around and you won't get motion sick, but you won't get motion sick because they literally have Alex, the character you're playing as, walk incredibly slowly, which I don't think that really helps too much to have a system like that. So I'm gonna just have to start this and put it here, and that's not really gonna do anything at the moment. And I did, because I knew I wasn't gonna play Half-Life Alyx anytime soon, I did watch the ending of the game, and it kind of ends exactly the same as it seems like the endings of the other Half-Life games. I haven't played any of the Half-Life games, but they all seem to very much have the exact same ending. Without getting into much spoilers if you haven't seen them, they are cliffhanger endings promising more, and then very often with Half-Life, as in the case of Half-Life 3, not really delivering more. You could look at Half-Life Alyx and say that it is only in existence because of VR, and it is going to take something as new and disruptive as VR to come out to convince Valve that they need to make more games of any sort, particularly in the Half-Life universe. I guess the Portal series didn't really have that same burden. They seemed more than willing to make Portal 1 and Portal 2 without requiring major improvements in technology. But that's probably the only instance in which that's going to be the case. This guy has lifelink, so he's going to get his health back. So, yeah, I don't know. Gabe Newell is talking about brain interfaces, so you very well may not see a new Half-Life game or a game in the major Half-Life series until there is something that they're willing to sell that they can call a brain interface, which I don't think we're within a decade of that technology. I don't think we were even before all this self-isolation. Who knows how, when all is said and done, how fast new technologies will be developed after all this pandemic stuff happens. We can do this. Which gives me that. And then I can do this. Remember, we just really need to play red cards, but it would be nice if we won faster. The quicker I do things, the better. I can block this, or I can let him block that. I think there's pretty much no better time. TechRaptor has an article here. No, Stadia isn't dead. Google announces new Stadia Makers program. This is a program to basically give free development hardware and funding to people to make sure that their games actually work on Stadia. Let's see, it deals 2 damage to a creature or planeswalker. I suppose he can hit that. Google still has a lot of money to throw at Stadia, so they're not going to abandon it quite yet. That being said, they will eventually almost certainly abandon it. I wish they had abandoned the YouTube Studio beta, but instead they've abandoned the old YouTube without really addressing any of the issues. So yeah, it's become slightly more difficult to upload videos and slightly more of a pain to organize videos, or just slightly impossible to do certain things. And they just didn't want to listen. The ridiculousness of how IT and just corporate politics in general are laid very bare with the YouTube Studio beta. That clearly was somebody was new in charge, instead of just keeping what they had, which is what most people do with software. That they made a ridiculous claim that it was costing them too much to maintain a website, which is a ridiculous claim. And instead they wanted to make something new and completely different, just so that they had ownership on it. Is the real truth. They just wanted to have something that they said they could do to justify their jobs, when most YouTube content creators would have been perfectly happy with the old website looking and working exactly the same as it always had. and they often use these things like it doesn't scale or scaling issues, and that's kind of BS, really. There's nothing you can really do there. In all fairness, the old YouTube video studio was terribly programmed as far as a web page, but the new one's not any better. They both program very badly. They could easily do a lot more simplistic coding with a lot less CSS and a lot less just high fashion artsy fartsy stuff, because it really should just be a utilitarian website. It should be super easy. It should look like something from Windows 3.1, and instead they're trying to make it look like something from Windows Vista. But anyways, that's just me whining. Let's keep covering the news, because at any point here I could start having back spasms. Deliver Us to the Moon and Those Who Remain has been delayed due to the coronavirus. I kind of wonder if maybe my stream was just automatically shut down because I said the coronavirus too many times. I didn't get any kind of response or anything to that, and I haven't heard anybody else complain about that, so it would be very weird if that was what was going on. No, and it certainly wouldn't really cause my computer to lock up, so that's not realistic. I wouldn't be surprised if my videos aren't getting really put in front of people's faces, because I keep mentioning the news, but I'm also not going to, I'm not really at a point where I feel like I need to play games and say, oh, I'll get demonetized. I'm already demonetized as a small YouTube content creator, so I'll just say whatever I want to move forward. We have a game on Steam here called the Essence Reaper Ritual, which, if I was to guess, looks to me like a low effort RPG game. Like, it really looks like it's a unfinished project. Like, you're seeing sponsored by freemake.com, $1.99 English full audio, third party EULA. Yeah, this is the unfinished project that is probably not super low effort. Usually when I use that descriptor, you don't see as much variety and attempt. It's just not a finished product. And yeah, there's still some level of quality that needs to happen, quality control on things like that. I wish there was a mainstream YouTube content creator, kind of like Sid Alpha, that would just go through games and test them out and be able to say, hey, this game is just not finished. This game is super low quality. Anybody that wants to check out this game and actually play it and review it, a almost encouragement of review bombing is what I'm suggesting here. Like, if we could harvest that idea of review bombing for good and have a dedicated, serious audience that's not doing it for political reasons, but are actually buying the game, checking it out, and reviewing it the way they actually feel, to the point where Valve gets enough feedback that they actually say, oh yeah, this game is not that good. So it would almost have to be, and I guess if I had a big fan base, I could do something like this, where I'd say, once a week I'm going to suggest a game. It's going to be a game that looks like garbage. I'm going to suggest everybody play it for an hour and a half and less than 2 hours, and then I'm going to suggest that everybody who plays it then go give it a thoughtful review of what their true feeling is and report it if it is doing anything that is actually reportable. So we could just target, play a game, review it, and then refund it. That's where the hour and a half time places. And this would be kind of an attempt by a fraction of the video game community to just clean up Steam and clean up the general quality of games that come out on Steam. To have perhaps a group of people, of critics, actually using their criticism for a greater good. However, right at the moment, you kind of don't even need to do that on Steam, because you can just look at the game and go, it's garbage, and then just never buy it. And the only ones that get through the cracks are the ones that have some redeeming value. At the very least, it would be nice if people stopped, content creators, YouTubers, stopped playing garbage games for the lulz, because that's a major problem. Certainly, is that there are just people out there that there's a lot of people that are playing pretty bad games and doing it for fun. At least PewDiePie is playing Subnautica and Minecraft, two games that are reasonably good quality. Of course, then PewDiePie is also promoting his own game, I think, or he was, at least for a while. As the self-isolation continues to happen, there's some more things getting hit. Fortnite status here. We don't talk about this too often. I don't even follow it. They're aware of a new GPU driver causing a crash when loading into Fortnite. This can be worked around by disabling image sharpening feature from your driver's control panel. And then 20 hours ago, if you're having trouble logging in recently, we believe the connectivity has returned to stable levels and should be resolved. And then on the 24th, we are aware some new Epic games are currently unavailable to discover friends via Add Friends. So, yeah. And then they're pretty silent until before that, until March 6th. So yeah, there's more people online, more problems, more sites that are promising to throttle, particularly Europe, which I don't know. I guess the internet's just expensive and such. OpenCritic has an article here. Plague Inc.'s next free update will let you cleanse the world and not end it. Plague Inc. also donated a bunch of money to, like, COVID-19. Yeah, it donated $250,000 to fight COVID-19, with half going to the Coalition of Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, CEPI, and the other half going to the World Health Organization COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. Of course, it is also worth mentioning that one subcommittee of the World Health Organization is kind of constantly trying to blame video games for things and promote the idea of video game addiction and in general being somewhat political. I think it's pretty obvious that Endemic, the company that sells Plague Inc., realized that the joke kind of ran out by this point of playing a plague simulator and trying to kill the world. It was funny and people could be on board with it until it became a real possibility. 2 damage to it. This is a terrible card. There's no reason for this to be in the deck. But whatever, we'll just play it. Um, so yeah, I think now that they've decided that they need to get some good press on it. Remember, Plague Inc. also was pulled from the Chinese storefront. The only other thing they could promote, unfortunately, is Rebel Inc. And Rebel Inc. also still has that same problem of being a simulator of rebellion. So they probably would have been best, and this was from my PR perspective, they probably would have been best just announcing that they were going to make a whole new game and it was going to be the opposite of Plague Inc. instead of just a scenario in Plague Inc. They were going to make a whole new game. I would announce it and then probably cancel the program without actually working on it or thinking about it too much, but just trying to get that cheap pop of interest and try to look like you're doing a face turn, to use wrestling terminology, because clearly Plague Inc. is the heel, the bad guy, the cowboy in the black hat, and so they need some kind of game that would counter that idea. Moving on, OpenCritic has this article. Konami has addressed the Silent Hill rumors. They are not true. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Hideo Kojima in particular that was just putting out those rumors. But yeah, there's no Silent Hill that's going to be developed, and you really wouldn't even want it developed if Konami is going to be involved, and Konami would be involved. So it's kind of no good scenario there. It would be a lot better if the creators and the people that worked on Silent Hill, not just the guy at the top, but everybody, just went on to make their own horror games and new series under new management, not Konami. If Microsoft came out and said, hey, we're going to fund a Silent Hill style game, that would be great. That would also help Microsoft quite a bit, considering how that would almost certainly be Microsoft supporting or funding a Japanese game, probably made by a Japanese developer in a Japanese horror game in particular. Although I'm not 100% sure how popular, we're done with the red deck, which is terrible. I'm not really sure how popular the Silent Hill series was in Japan. It was probably moderately popular, but it seems like it gets talked about by Westerners a lot more than Japanese people. If anything, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fatal Frame series is actually more popular in Japan. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. Warhammer Vermintide 2 Chapter 3 patch notes details a new map. So people are still playing Vermintide 2. Is, I guess, the bit of information to take from that, unless you are still playing Vermintide. Let's see. Guess there's no problem in playing this, other than he's gonna do a board clear. I watched a YouTube video that claimed to explain a lot of the backstory of Magic, and it seems like the main thing to take from the current standard stories is that Nicol Bolas is kind of the main bad guy, with there also being a kind of black goo creatures that don't seem to really be showing up too much, that were the bad guys when Nicol Bolas wasn't the bad guys, and pretty much all the other planeswalkers are in the Gatewatch, or at least a large majority of them are, that are being focused on, and they are fighting against Nico Bolas. And the Planeswalkers are parts of Gatewatch. That might explain the gate cards. But people join and leave the Gatewatch in a lot of the side stories. Allegedly, according to this YouTube video, every legendary card represents a character, item, or event from the main story, whereas a non-legendary card, I guess, doesn't inherently represent something that happened or is happening in the story. I kind of feel like Magic probably was better if it was when it was originally vague and didn't try to tell a story, and I think that's kind of what they're trying to do now. Throne of Eldraine didn't do anything other than to tell its own kind of standard story of there's a fairy tale land, and that's about that. Yeah, that's about all it had to say. Theros Beyond Death does seem like it's probably trying to tell more of a story, but honestly, if you're not reading the side novels, if you're not doing any of that content, you don't get any of it. And I don't know how you really would fix that. Other than what you could do is you could have a card inserted into every pack that gave you a code for Magic Arena to give you some kind of cards, and ideally copies of the cards in your exact pack, and then on the back side of that, instead of just having a standard Magic background, you have it tell a small chapter, paragraph, like not really a chapter, but like a paragraph of the story, like one thing that talks about what's going on in the current expansion. And then maybe you throw in some that just tell lore and history also. I'm gonna attack with one of these and not attack with the other, because that means they'll let him either block or not block, and still I can block on the other hand. Gamasutra republished a article from 2005 talking about the post-mortem of the making of Half-Life 2, which probably isn't that informative in 2020, but I can certainly see the relevance of wanting to post something like that while Half-Life Alyx is out. Although they kind of are skipping Half-Life 2 Episode 2 and all of that, I think. Alright. Is now the time to do this? Yeah, it looks like this is just going to be a race to victory. Can I do enough damage before he kills me? I think the answer is probably so. TechRaptor has an article. Sony is limiting European PlayStation download speeds to ease internet traffic. I think there's probably a major realization or a factor in general as far as the European internets, that servers just have not been in Europe because most of the companies are American companies, although Sony in this case is a Japanese company, but they don't really consider Europe to be their second priority at all, their third priority at best. There is also, I could make the argument, because there are so many consumer protection laws and just kind of interference laws that the European Union and European countries do to tech companies in particular, or impose on tech companies, many of which are good, that does just create a concern and a lack of desire to want to have your servers in European countries. So I wouldn't be surprised if a major amount of services are just streaming through intercontinental connections that are getting throttled and overused from like the United States and Canada and such, or satellite connections. So yeah, no, I've seen several responses to that, and I've also seen some people actually make the argument that video gamers should play less video games, or so more people can watch Netflix and things like that. Which, I mean, at a certain point, it just breaks down to a classist argument of you young kids should stop playing games and being entertained so I can be entertained. And it's like, yeah, nobody's gonna accept that premise at all. Moving on, Gamester chose this article. Mods that cut VR from Half-Life Alyx will only show how vital its VR is, says Valve. So they kind of have no interest whatsoever of making Half-Life Alyx playable outside of VR from that response. You can assume that's what they really mean. And I think there's probably some truth to that. I think if you really thought about what Half-Life Alyx is when you're playing it, you would see that it is a standard VR game where you're mostly standing in one place, shooting guns or using magical energy gloves. I think you do a lot of that too in the game. So that's gonna be worse than an experience where you're running around and platforming like you would in Portal, or you're running around and running and gunning like you would in the Half-Life games. So, yep, if you were to objectively try to look at the comparison between Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, and Half-Life Alyx, I imagine the number of physical actions and interactions that you are doing that actually matter, and this is where the subjectiveness would come in, are way less. Like, even if you are using something like a gravity gun in Half-Life Alyx, you're not running and jumping. So yeah, it probably would be an incredibly boring game if the VR is taken out, but you kind of have to take that for what it is. What will really be funny is if somebody takes the Half-Life Alyx art and story and just makes it in something like the Source Engine or Unreal. That would be the real thing, is just remake the game, remaster it in without VR, and then put that fair comparison to the test. I think at that point you'd realize, oh yeah, if you were just playing a standard first-person shooter experience, that would be way better than what the VR experience offers. That being said, I haven't seen a lot of gameplay of Half-Life Alyx, so maybe there is something in it that I'm not seeing. But I have seen probably about 20 seconds of gameplay and the ending, which the ending really didn't show any gameplay. So there might be something I'm totally missing. And the immersion is something that I would just never experience until I actually experienced it. Alright. Steam has GTA 4, the complete edition, that is mixed reviewed. It's on my wish list which is weird because I feel like it wasn't. I feel like GTA 4 itself was, and they've just replaced GTA 4 with GTA 4 the complete edition. Let's see if we can see some negative reviews to see why. Here we have a Too Long Didn't Read that was from let's see if I can, March 24th. Social Club is terrible and I can't refund, so I'm recommending against it for now. The Rockstar game launcher and its linked Social Club are intrusive. If you ever forget or lose access to the Rockstar account linked to your Steam account, say goodbye to being able to play their newer games, because you can't choose what Rockstar account is linked to your Steam profile. That sounds like a major flaw. I didn't have an issue with GTA 4 and the DLCs until the most recent update. Let's see. Another negative review says, "Sigh, Rockstar too lazy to bring multiplayer to the Steamworks servers," so they probably got rid of the multiplayer in total. Rockstar has already butchered this version of the game by forcing an update to remove music from our own copies. That always sucks, of the game that we have had for years, but now they force you to use another game launcher to even play the game, because every developer has their own launcher, and it's in fashion, I guess. Here we have one negative review that says, "Rockstar's last update made all my saves disappear." Here we have one that just says, "Shove the Rockstar game launcher up your butt." Maybe editorializing that response. It says, "Heart, heart, heart." Here we have a Russian negative review in the English section. So yeah, it seems to me, while Metacritic gives the game a 90, right now GTA 4, the complete edition, is not worth playing. Honestly, I don't know if any of the GTA games are really worth playing. It's almost a no accounting for taste argument that people liked the Rockstar games despite themselves, despite them being average at best. I mean, certainly Metacritic gives it a 90, but I just think people have bad tastes when it comes to GTA. I think in a lot of ways there probably were more thought-provoking, more entertaining games than a GTA. Whichever GTA was the most recent one would have been out. It would be an interesting theory to test out, certainly, to see if I compared what were the AAA games that were out the same year as GTA, and or the year before, even, like, what could you have been playing otherwise. Certainly in my case, I have never been in a situation for my entire life of playing video games where it felt like there wasn't anything to play and I should play GTA. I've been hearing about GTA, certainly, for decades, and I don't want to deny that they are quality enough, but I just think they may just be a little overhyped and overfocused. In the same way that I feel a lot of the militaristic first-person shooter games are overhyped and overfocused on, and they're not really the experiences that I would ever really want to go on. I just certainly have a different taste than most people, and I will perhaps cynically argue that popular taste is often simplistic and fad-driven and not particularly that good. Um, like when you look at, like, the Cinnamon Challenge or the whole Tide Pod things, it's like people in groups often can be pretty dumb, and fads can also often be pretty dumb, and I think GTA falls under that category in a lot of ways. So yeah, no real interest in playing this new version, or frankly any of them. If I was going to do anything, I'd do the Saints Row games. I think they probably do them better, and that at least offers a level of silliness that's not in the kind of overly serious GTA series. Although there is a lot of silliness even in that GTA series. Moving on, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Legends of Duelist Link Evolution. This is rated mostly positive right now, which is weird because I think I looked at this yesterday and it was rated mixed or negative. Let's see. Here you go. A Yu-Gi-Oh! Game with no in-game purchase, a multiplayer system, and doesn't run off a trust-based rule system. So far, I'm in, boys. So there might actually be 2 Yu-Gi-Oh! Games that came out, because I saw that they had uploaded the wrong version and that it was totally wrong. Looking at this actual Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, the graphics still look pretty bad for an average modern game, but they're better than what we've seen for Yu-Gi-Oh! Games. It's also interesting that this video just starts off saying, yeah, it's teen for fantasy violence, mild blood, and partial nudity. Partial nudity, I think, is probably a bit of a stretch. Scantily clad bikini outfits is probably all you're going to really see. They come over and play this. Alright. So, a game that I guess I can put on the follow list here. If it's mostly positive, if it's over 20 views, it goes to the wish list. So we have to promote it. That's the rules I play by when sorting my wish list out. This is something that has single player, so I could cover it. There's been a long list of Yu-Gi-Oh! Games that have been bad. There's been cell phone versions that kind of change the rules and confuse the issue. There's been bad cell phone games too. So yeah, that goes to the wish list. I don't know what point I would play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. I suppose if I just really quickly burnt out on Magic and was still waiting for the second dinner Marvel game to be developed, I might play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game as a live stream in single player mode, which would be weird. I suppose if I just had a bunch of free time and I just wanted to do the single player experiences as a pre-recorded series, that would be doable. But that would be certainly weird too. Like, I'd have to majorly improve my output. I don't want two pre-recorded, two shows that are both collectible card games airing on my channel at the same time. I think that's hyper focused on one genre, and that would be a bad idea. Ideally, and this is a little bit e-baggy, but I'll just throw it out there. Ideally, I think the best way this should go would be for me to be gifted that Yu-Gi-Oh! Game and then have it in my back pocket in case something else goes wrong. Like, particularly, I guess, if we started running into like connection issues with Magic Arena, like, which Magic Arena hasn't been having a major amount of connection issues, but if there was one day where I just could not get on the internet, and connect to Magic Arena, but I could still stream somehow, then yeah, a single player experience. I don't think I really want to play multiplayer Yu-Gi-Oh though, and I don't want to get too crazy into it. Yu-Gi-Oh does have some more interesting one-turn win conditions than I would say a standard just random Magic deck would, but it also has that Japanese anime art style instead of a Tolkien-esque fantasy art style that Magic has, which, for better or worse, I think limits them somewhat to making everything look a little bit more cartoony than I would prefer. And it definitely has its target audience of being younger kids, teenagers. Like the scale clearly is, you should, if you're going to be into collectible card games, you should play Pokemon the card game as a young kid, and then move into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then move into Magic by the time you're an adult, which is a pretty good system for Hasbro because they basically own all of those games. So they're making 3 times the sales off of you. And I could attack here. Let's see what happens here. See if he wants to block that. Next, we have a game on Steam called Minigame Blast. Let's see if there's anything here worth mentioning. Nope, it is a collection of just random other games, probably tech demos. $4.99 discounted, English only. Nothing there. Next, we have a game called Evil Heart Fever, which looks like a low effort asteroid shooter. It's discounted to 59 cents, English full audio allegedly. Yeah, right. Trying to burn through all of these games. Let's see. Just go ahead and sacrifice all of these. I should actually be able to win my next turn if everything plays the way I think it will, because I'll just be able to sacrifice this 3 times, and unless he does something to increase his health, it should be enough for a victory. Tech Raptor has the PlayStation Plus April free games listing here. Uncharted and what else? I don't even know. The Dirt series. Some Dirt game. Let's see. Dirt Rally 2.0. So, Uncharted 4 and Dirt Rally 2.0, which I don't think Dirt Rally 2.0 was particularly the one. Right, I guess I try to mention the PlayStation Plus free games and the Xbox free games and all of that, but a lot of times I do think I forget them, or there's just a lack of relevance there. It's barely news that you might get a free game, but it's some small bit of information that has some amount of being relevant. What's interesting here is that Wario64 on Twitter and this other guy Nibble, I don't follow either one of these. I guess I could subscribe to their channel and follow them on Twitter and see if they put any bit of information out that's useful. Let's see. And we need to jump back into a game. Next, we have a game called Rhythmy on Steam, which looks like a rhythm shooter, bullet hell shooter. Early access, discounted to $7.19, bunch of languages. Even if this was a game that looked interesting, which it kind of doesn't, a rhythm game and a bullet hell shooter combined is definitely not something I would want to play. Speaking of playing games, I've pretty much got all the endings except for the DLC endings that would cost money for the idle clicker alter ego. I kind of liked my first ending that I got, but clearly there is the true ending that they want you to receive, and they will push you to get that. It's a fine game. It's a short game. The only real problem is you basically have to play it with an ad blocker, otherwise it ruins the experience with a massive amount of ads. And then you have to kind of turn off your ad blocker to get the videos ads that they try to get you to watch, that they give you rewards for. And I will say the final book, there's a list of books that there are skills you unlock effectively. That final book is so extremely expensive that you won't get it done. I did hear if you change your clock on your phone, which was kind of a hard thing to do, if you just skip forward, you could perhaps cheat the system and get a massive amount of energy to not have to then look at ads to get bonuses. But yeah, it's an interesting week of gameplay, and then it kind of ends, which it kind of makes it a bad idle game because it doesn't really just go on and on and on. I mean, you could go on and on and on, but there's no rewards for it. There's no from the feeling of it, there's no like platinum tier where you level up and start over again or anything like that. So yeah, I imagine a lot of idle games and clicker game fans would be bored with it. It also has a weird system in which it tells you the title of a book that it wants you to read in about minimum of 3 hours. It tells you a book and then starts a timer, and you can't click any further until 3 hours later, and you would just have to go get that book and read it. Like, for instance, they said they lent me the book Fight Club out of 3 that it offered, and they're all like self-identity philosophy style books that clearly the creator of the game was inspired by when making Alter Ego, and they just want you to go read it. And then I haven't actually said that I've read it. That's why I picked Fight Club. Not that I've read that book, but because I have the general idea of what happens in the book enough that I think I can fake like I read the book. I haven't even watched the movie, but I still think I could probably fake it fairly well. And that's kind of the only last bit of content in the game, is it's not letting you actually read the book or even linking to a place where you could get the ebook, which there's a real missed opportunity, I suppose, there for an Amazon ebook affiliate program type thing. But yeah, it's not giving you the book, it's just telling you go get it and read it and then come back and discuss, almost like a digital book club. I'm also playing Scrabble Go. I probably will play that for the duration of self-isolation and then give up on that. I'm fairly better off at playing Scrabble apparently than the average people that I'm playing with right now, but I'm not particularly great nor particularly interested in playing a lot of Scrabble constantly. Scrabble Go also full of a lot of advertisements that feel unnecessary. A lot of in-app purchases that feel kind of silly too. And then I looked at, not a game, but webtoons, another thing that was advertised too. I'm basically just going through everything that I always see advertisements on YouTube, if it catches my eye at all. So I looked at like Arkanites and was completely uninterested in that. But webtoons is kind of its own launcher service for a like weekly a week system, weekly released comics that are really short. Like they're each of the squares, each of the panels in the comics are just wide enough to be on a cell phone screen, and the number of panels you're getting are maybe 25 to 50 per issue, per number. So even if something is up to issue 100, you're probably only seeing like 5,000 panels, which probably only turns down to maybe 400 pages. And I don't know if any of them actually go to even issue 100. So it's not a lot of action, not a lot of content, and not a lot of dialogue. From what the looks of it, and it's the advertisements are fairly deceptive as to what you're actually getting. There's no motion. It's not like a live 2D animation or anything. It's just still comics. The art, it doesn't look particularly great. The stories don't seem particularly wonderful. Do we want to be a blocker? I guess we do. So yeah, I scrolled through like 2 stories and then uninstalled webtoons immediately, and there's no video game element to it at all. But clearly there's a lack of content being made. Like yesterday certainly felt like a Saturday or a Sunday where just no podcasts were being made at all, which would be the thing. A lot of YouTube videos seem like they're making fewer episodes there. Also, the Giant Bombcast did come out, and I was surprised and really only got it, like, it seemed like hours and hours later, and that was kind of the only podcast that came out. So, oddly, even though my life, as far as I'm usually stay inside my house anyways, so nothing is changing there, but I'm feeling a lot more bored because the outside entertainment that I was bringing in through the internet is getting smaller and smaller and shorter and shorter. So yeah, it felt like it's feeling like people really are taking 2 weeks off, and that does certainly feel a little boring, although frankly I've got plenty to entertain me, and maybe a little bit of boredom in my life would be slightly helpful. Like, I probably wouldn't have ever gone to Amazon Prime and watched TV shows as much as I have if it weren't for the fact that I was bored. So a little bit of boredom, if you can find it a motivator to do something that you've always just been too busy to do, is fine. Once I run out of things, if I went through my like 500 plus DVD collection and watched all of that and saw everything and literally couldn't get any more content out of that, that would be a problem. But if anything, I am well stocked and have been hoarding entertainment for almost all of my life. So I am very, very well suited to maintain that. Alright, well, that's as much as I can do with that. Alright, I've won the game, but I have to go through all the motions until he decides that I don't have to go through all the motions and concedes, which maybe he will, maybe he won't. There's a large amount of people that still don't concede when they should be able to tell that they've lost. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another victory. We are playing ranked, aren't we? Shoot, we haven't been playing ranked. We should have been playing ranked. Anyways, Limited Run is selling the Switch Real Mister game. I believe it would be the Real Mist Masterpiece Edition, but they're just labeling it as Real Mist as far as the art is considered. Which the Real Mist Masterpiece Edition is the right version of Mist to play, particularly for kids. Although, in all fairness, it's a little questionable how many young kids that have Switch really would want to play Mist, and whether Mist is really best suited on the Switch. I don't even really know how many games, if any, use a touchscreen on the Switch, or if the touchscreen, if there even is a touchscreen on the Switch. Like, I'm woefully uninformed as far as all of that is concerned. And I don't know if a touchscreen with Mist works because it's a mouse and keyboard game, or if you just are going to have a cursor with the Joy-Cons, which I don't know if that works particularly well. Like, but if I do know one thing, it certainly is that they will always release as many versions of Mist as they can to make as much money as they can, and I cannot blame them for doing that, because it has certainly worked for Cyan. Alright. Next we have a game on Steam called Operation Sniff. This looks to be like the baby trying to kill itself game, but this time you play as a dog, and you're being chased around. It's early access. It's $2.54 discounted, English and Russian, and it says it has online player versus player and single player. I don't think the original game with the baby trying to kill itself was particularly that good, and I don't think taking that idea and then making a whole new game is the right direction to go with that. It would probably be a lot better if they simply... Yeah, I guess we can take action since we already got Bolus, though. Actually, we shouldn't, though, because on second thought, there's more land that needs to be played. Yeah, if they were going to do anything, they should have taken the baby game and just added a new mode where he plays a dog as a skin, because that's really still the exact same game, and there's not much more you can do to improve it or make it more entertaining. Next, we have a game on Steam called The Revenge of Johnny Bonansera, Episode 4. Looks like it's a point-and-click adventure game. It's almost like a Family Guy animation style. Like an actual Western animation style that doesn't look completely terrible. Which is always weird. I guess since the whole bundle here, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, is $11.59, I'm gonna put this on the fall list and see if people like it. I don't know why you really would need an episodic release, and individually this 4th episode is $4.49. I wouldn't be surprised if the first 2 games are free or extremely cheap. So that's another thing that I'd have to keep an eye out for, is it a kind of bait and switch experience where they're gonna try to get you in on a cheap deal and then make you pay to get the full story. I guess that's generally what episodic is regardless. Alright. So I can win in 16 turns at the moment, and I need 2 more lands to play Bowl of Citadel to speed that up. Let's see. Need to block this one and then activate this ability here. And then bring it back. Gamma Sutra has Eno Games as hiring a concept artist in Hamburg, Germany. Again, I'm not sure about how many of these job listings are accurate at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and attack with 2 to speed things up. Then end the turn. Open Critic has an article here as far as Final Fantasy VII Remake's producer explains why the game is episodic. I think we all pretty well know they're doing it to make money. But also they're claiming that it's a huge game, and I think that that's somewhat true, but probably not as true as just they're doing it to make money and stretch for time, if anything else. I guess this time it's wise to block this one, because he's going to try and use his ability to get +3/+3. Oops. Well, I screwed up there. That was a mistake. Bring back somebody. There goes my Bowl of Citadel. Moving on, Open Critic has an article here. Resident Evil 3 will allow knife-only runs. I think you probably could play most games knife-only or mostly knife-only. Like Resident Evil 4, I know at the very end of the game you actually do have to use a rocket launcher, but otherwise you probably could play the vast majority of the rest of the game knife only. Twitter Gaming is still being ridiculous. They tweeted out, they've changed their name to Twitter Gaming at Home, and then they tweeted out, this is the opposite of the Pokemon Go summer. Like, I don't get the whole idea there of if they don't have anything like super useful or positive to say, why would you post anything? Like your main job as a official Twitter feed, which I assume it is an official Twitter feed and it's not just somebody who caught Twitter Gaming's handle, would be to promote video gaming or promote video gaming talk on Twitter. I don't see the purpose of that comment. And I really, really don't mind if Twitter Gaming was just silent until they had something new or important to say. Which they clearly don't. Alright. I've got them down to 10, so if I could get Bullet Citadel on the field fairly quickly. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called The Long Sky VR, which looks like a VR game where you're flying a spacecraft and seemingly doing nothing other than that. It seems like you just fly a spacecraft through an asteroid field and shoot at things. At the very least, this stops the teleporting issue and the standing in one place issue, since you're playing a game as a character who's sitting. This is early access though for $1.79, which is incredibly cheap for a VR game. A bunch of achievements, probably an achievement game if I was to guess. Are we going to start seeing low effort achievement games in the VR field? Maybe not, maybe, but I kind of doubt it. See. TechRaptor has an article. Rogue Company is coming to this summer from Hi-Rez. I think we've seen a trailer for this game. This was the game that looked incredibly weird because it's like we've got a just standard cliched military guy and a standard cliched anime, not anime, but Asian girl with a sword, and actually that doesn't even look like a katana. Looks like some weirdly drawn longsword. And then we've got a maybe punk guy with a handgun, kind of like a gangster. Like it seemed particularly just stereotypical and didn't really have a lot offering as far as what it actually was going to be. And I don't really care to read the article to try and figure out what it's going to be. We'll see what it is when it actually comes out. TechRaptor has the One Step from Eden review, which this looks like this could be a Mega Man Battle Network style game. That's exactly what it looks like to me. So let's see how they reviewed it. And heck, you always catch my attention with some scantily clad angel girls with fire in their hands. And it looks like there's some systems. So they gave it a 9.0. One Step from Eden is masterfully brings out a mix of action RPG and deck building that we haven't seen in a good while. Pros are attractive, fluid pixel art, pulse pounding gameplay, easy to play, hard to master. Cons are the focus system could use some improvement, and there's some minor user interface confusion. That doesn't sound too bad. I somehow lost my guy. Unfortunately, I lost both my guys. Alright, well, Sorry, I'm yawning. I guess we'll find one step from Eden, and then we will put that down. Put it on the fall list. Guess I can do that. That helps a little bit, but not a lot. I think my duplicate tab plugin and very possibly several of my plugins are not working right. And I don't know why that would be the case. Seems like just a lot of things aren't working right these days. But yeah, I do seem to be seeing a lot of the same tabs open and open over and over again, and I'm having to clean them up. But whatever, I'll figure it out. Next we have a game on Steam called Colony 42. Dark screenshot. It has dark screenshot syndrome, but there might be a horror game here. Let's see, it's free. Is it a student project? It's going to have 6 chapters. It's English full audio. It has 5 Steam achievements. So it's not a student project. They're giving you the first one for free. So I'll just say, if you want to play Colony 42, if it looks like it's an interesting enough game that you'd be willing to wait probably 4 years until the whole game is out, check it out. Otherwise, I'm not going to put it on the fall list. Like, we'll wait till a finalized product is available, if ever. Next, we have a game on Steam called Super Fight, which looks like a beat 'em up. Unfortunately, if you look at the background, it seems like they only have one background, which makes it incredibly boring. And it looks like they barely have 2, maybe 3 skins. It's selling for $199.99, no discount. It's being listed under a Chinese name, although it says it's English only. This is incredibly fishy looking game, and that should definitely have triggered something on Valve's part. They should have said, hey, wait a minute, we're not going to let you sell a game for $199 without us at least looking at it. And then as soon as they looked at it, they should have been like, yeah, we're not going to let you sell this at all on Steam. Like, there's free market, and then there's free market gouging. And see, I just dropped down. I didn't realize I could drop down. I shouldn't be playing, frankly. I should just get up to tier 2, say that's as good as I'm gonna get, and stay there. And I may just fall down further and further down the gold tier trying to get back up to gold tier 2. I pushed it, and I shouldn't have pushed it. Anyways, apparently Game Deck, is that how you pronounce it? Kickstarter campaign has been launched. I've never heard of this. It's a single player cyberpunk isometric RPG that was first announced for the PC in August 2019 and still needs money. I mean, I guess we can watch the trailer, but I really don't want to promote Kickstarters. I just don't believe in that business model. Although I guess venture capital, I don't believe in either. In the bigger picture, I probably believe in having rich people risk their money through venture capital than I do individuals risking their money for something that is almost certainly not going to ever get finished or be satisfactory response. I guess perhaps my political beliefs and leanings would say Kickstarter would be something I should like, but the level of success so far on Kickstarter has been so incredibly low, and the level of fraud, for lack of a better term, on Kickstarter has been incredibly high. I guess in general what I would say is I would like to see the government just give out grants to anybody who wants to make a video game, and those grants should feed the creators and meet their basic needs for resources to make the games. And maybe people could vote with their tax dollars through a Kickstarter. Yeah, if you had to pay taxes, but you got to decide where your tax money went, and some of it could go to arts grants, a lot more people would be happy in the United States, instead of the vast majority of it going to pork politics or military budgets. Moving on though, Gamma Sutra has this article. Nintendo has shut down its US repair centers due to COVID-19, which is kind of bad timing because it is a reasonably high chance that there will be people out there, kids out there, that will break their consoles because they're playing and they won't have a very good chance to repair things or get them fixed anytime soon. So yeah, bad timing on that. Certainly, kids, be careful with your Switches. Don't break them, because you may not get them repaired for a very long time or ever. But I guess that was always true, is you should be extremely careful with the extremely expensive, somewhat easy to break video game console. Moving on, Gamatsu has this article. Avalanche Studio reorganizes and teases a new title from the Generation Zero studio. Let's see, here's the teaser trailer. Zooming in on a cave. I don't know what Avalanche Studio is. Yeah, it's just zooming in on a cave and then maybe some flashes of something weird happening in the cave. Some kind of monsters or guns shooting. Yeah. But yeah, without knowing what Avalanche Studios did before, that information is fairly useless. This guy is going to stop my guy from getting upgrades, which that's gonna suck. But it's not going to really affect the experience too much. Because I can just still use these. I think I may see the beginning of the end as far as the news. Here we have a game on Steam called Bala Vita, which is very nicely animated. Seems like you're kind of maybe observing memories from like a Peruvian group. Oh, this is not animated at all. This is live action footage. Yeah, that looks really interesting. So it's like a live action play in VR. So it requires VR. It's $3.59, single player, English and German, and translated and subtitles to Chinese. It's an interesting idea, certainly. And the price is very right. So I'm going to put this on the fall list, even though it's a VR game, because at the least there's something there different. But also, it is worth mentioning that this probably is based on a play, and very possibly is going to be completely copyrighted, content ID'd. So even if I could stream this, I don't know how much of it you legitimately could stream before you're just watching a play. It probably isn't that long of a play either. And it definitely has the feel of a stage play more than anything else. but something interesting. Definitely something different from what we often see as far as VR. Alright, so we're gonna block that. We're gonna and we're gonna block that. And then we're gonna stop that. And we're gonna let that one go through. And then we'll do that. And then we'll take this one, sacrifice this one too, and we'll put that back on the field. Okay. Then we put that on the field, so same trick as what he was doing, and put that back on the field. And no attacks. Gamatsu has an article here. Doom Eternal breaks the franchise record for opening weekend sales. Double the launch revenue of 2016 release Doom. I'll be interested in seeing other people's opinion on Doom Eternal. Giant Bomb didn't like it, which is to say the main guy in charge of Giant Bomb didn't like it, and they are all so susceptible to groupthink that as soon as he said he didn't like it, everybody kind of fell in line, which is kind of what they all do anyways. And I don't know how you really ensure things like that doesn't happen other than just hiring a bunch of people who are extremely unagreeable and extremely opinionated, which is what video game critics should be anyways. Or just isolating people completely and saying, don't read your co-workers' reviews, don't have discussions about that, just write the reviews. That might be a argument for having a lot of freelance writers in particular, but it's not the best argument for having freelance writers. And still, the editor-in-chief does have broad ability to decide what narrative stories are going to take, and that has often been a cited complaint, is that an editor-in-chief tells them exactly what kind of article they're going to write and exactly how it's going to be phrased, and an editor-in-chief often will like curate and rewrite them to change the narrative around their reviews. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if other people said that they kind of didn't like some of the elements in Doom Eternal, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Giant Bomb is just completely off base there. Mostly they seem to have a complaint about the tone of the story, which it's Doom. There never really was much of a tone anyways. It's not surprising that the tone isn't always going to be great, and that's kind of not the point. Like, if you're going into Doom looking for story, or if you're trying to make a Doom with a decent story, then you've totally missed what Doom was. Like, Doom was always this blank check, this blank template of a first-person shooter where you're shooting demons, and you maybe get a paragraph of text at the beginning and end of the entire game. But that was it. Like, the rest of the time, you just are running and gunning and shooting and massacring demons. That's the only thing you needed to know as far as the game was concerned. And then they also probably unfairly complained about the levels being too long, which seems like a weird complaint to make. That was probably a mistake to play that, because I could have played this and done twice the amount of damage next turn if he doesn't play a creature. Moving on, Gamatsu has the Famitsu review scores for issue 1634. They have a game called Desertopia for the Switch. They gave it 32 out of 40. I haven't even heard of that. We have Factorium 90 Double War, or Factotum 90, not Factorium, which I gave a 27 out of 40. Again, a game I haven't heard of. Ib and Oob, which I gave a 29 out of 40, and Luminia, which I gave a 28 out of 40. So 3 out of 4 of those pretty badly reviewed, and none of those games recognizable. I imagine a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's just nothing coming out right now, because of just all the shutdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if Famitsu also didn't even have a lot of their employees reviewing games, just out of an abundance of caution. Right. I'll attack here. TechRaptor has this article: Game Grumps crash Eek Games House Party. I think Eek Games is the name of the company that makes House Party. What is Game Grumps at this point? Like, have they always been this way? Like, I'm in a weird position because I kind of only subscribed to them maybe 6 months ago and found them for a brief moment entertaining, and then they kind of gave up on being video game reviewers, and now a fan vote brought them into the date sex game House Party because they covered it and made a bunch of jokes around it, but really didn't review it or really do anything to show that they actually cared about the game in any way. So yeah, I just have no idea what Game Grumps wants to be. I don't think they know what they want it to be, and you're just constantly getting into this idea of YouTubers and content creators intertangling themselves and having no split between the content that they're supposed to be criticizing versus being the developers / profiteers of games. And we've seen this happen with a lot of people. PewDiePie had his game. Jesse Cox has like 2 or 3 games that he's promoting. Jim Sterling has showed up in several games and been a voice actor in games. It's like critics just cannot seem to stay away from the nepotism that is so prevalent in the video game industry. And as a video game critic myself, I think if I'm going to have any, otherwise I'm going to prove myself to be a complete liar if I did this after saying this, but if I'm going to have any objectivity, I have to make the assumption that I am never going to in any way be involved with the video game industry. It's just not something I can ever allow to happen. So if somebody asked me to be a voice actor, I don't know why they would do that. I'd have to say no for a video game. I could probably get away with doing it for a movie or an anime or something, cartoon, TV series, something like that. Again, I don't know why anybody would hire me to be a voice actor. But yeah, and if somebody asked me to be a programmer, which is more reasonable for a video game, I think the answer still would have to be no. At the very least, I would have to make a big announcement and a separation of at least a couple months, or at least a direct date. I'd have to come out and say, I've been hired to be a programmer, thus I am officially at this point retiring as a video game critic. I will not be criticizing any games going forward. Even if I did get back to being a video game critic at some point in the future, I will not be criticizing anything made by these people who have hired me or this company that's hired me. So like I would have to never be able to criticize anything made by any of those people or the company, any of the employees of that company. I think that's the only way you could even start to create a line of separation there. But even at that adds this realm of fairly reasonable suspicion. Like, when would have this negotiation happened? Was I reviewing games from that company before? Was I giving like good reviews to those games before because I was trying to get favor or being friendly with it or had some backroom deal? It just adds a lot of confusion. It's the whole lobbyist versus congressman argument in video games. Like, congressmen should not be allowed to work in the industries that they oversaw or become lobbyists for the industries that they oversaw, and yet that's exactly what happens. And lobbyists shouldn't be allowed to become congressmen, or politicians, and that happens too. Well, regardless of that, we need to keep on moving. Okay. Can we pull this off in such a way? I think we might be able to. Probably should have not attacked there. That way I could have used this next turn. But I also need to get this guy down to 3, so I need to figure out a way to kill a few more of these characters. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, How Lair of the Clockwork God blends the worlds of platforms and point-and-click adventures. Haven't heard of this game. Is it out yet? Or is this a promo? Not really seeing a link to it. Nor am I seeing anything in the article that actually talks about it. Yeah, it seems like it's not even on Steam, because they just have a link. No, it's still. No, it's a follow-up to the game Been There, Day and That, and Time Gentlemen Please, which I don't think I liked either one of those games, actually. Alright. Tap that. Submit. So yeah, I don't know how much information I really got from that article. Just go ahead and play that. I needed to have tapped this guy. That would have been the better move. But actually, I think I've got this. Because if I can play this and then put this on the field, I do 1 damage anyways. And then I could potentially just let him do as much damage as he wants. And that might work. Alright. Okay. Can we do this? No, I can't do that. I've got to just let it roll and see if he's gonna let anything happen here. Because he's got a block here. He's got no choice. That kills one. And then he can let that through if he wants. Otherwise he's got to block with something else. That worked fairly well. And that's going to give him more health. And do we want to do this now? No, I don't think I can, because he's not going to take enough damage yet. But I can still win this. I think I can, at least. See, all I've got to do is tap something like that, so you can't attack with that one. And what we want to do is probably block with this and see what happens there. And if I could just get Bolo Citadel, I'd win for sure. Otherwise I'm having to play really passively. Alright. Let's attack here. Block. Then sacrifice this. And then put this on the field. Gamatsu has an article here. Torchlight 3 reveals a sharpshooter class. Torchlight 3 is still in development. And yeah, sharpshooter, I guess, might be different than the gun / archer class that existed before. Or if this, either that or they're just talking about a class that existed in the first game. I'm trying to I suppose get more of an audience. Guess we do this. Can I tap that now? No. I can kind of win though. If there's only one flying guy, like I can kind of win at this point. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. Color X Malice for Switch launches in June in North America, and Color X Malice Unlimited launches in August. A young policewoman marked for death must expose the truth. This looks like a visual novel mystery game, if I was to guess. Yep. From Idea Factory. So more of those. I guess if you were stuck at home and of the appropriate age, like I gotta say that the right way, now would be probably one of the best times ever to get into visual novels. If you had any interest in that whatsoever, which maybe you don't. Oh, high chance you don't. Okay, resolve. Who is going to attack? Resolve. Pass. He's gonna try and attack with everything. Okay. So we've got to block this one and this one and that one. I think and what we're gonna hope for is a level of success here that fixes a lot of things and doesn't have us die. Or he's gonna take me out completely. Hey, I survived. Look at that. Actual survival. Made it. Made it to the end. Attack. There we go. We won. Next we have a game on Steam called Afterlife Girl and Cats in Lost World. This looks like this is probably a either simplistic Japanese visual novel type story or a cheap Chinese. I would guess cheap Chinese because when you look at a lot of the interface, it's just like cut and paste, dull background. Seems like it's may not even have any interaction at all. It may just be a story being told to you. It's free to play, I guess. English and Japanese, single player. So I guess if that looks interesting to you, check it out. Doesn't look particularly great to me. Yeah, it's gonna be a hard grind to make it up to. There we go, new card. It's gonna be a hard grind to make it up to the ranked platinum tier. I don't think I can make it in time. Let's hurry up and finish. Gamma Sutra has an article. Big Run Studios nets 1.4 million to create mobile titles for underserved our audience. Undeserved is without an R here. So questionable who they think are the underserved audiences in mobile games. I imagine you could make an argument that PC gamers and hardcore gamers in general are the most underserved as far as mobile games, but if you try to start breaking it down any further than that, I think you're just going to have a very, very long list of underserved people. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Kessler Effect, which looks like it might be an attempt at making a Mass Effect clone. It's not from anybody that I recognize, though. So this could be they're calling it an interactive adventure movie for VR. It's $2.59. Again, a very cheap VR game. And it's English, traditional Chinese, and Russian. And sorry, when you see that combination, you know it's a bad quality story. But you know what? I'll be generous here. We'll wait and put it on the fall list and just see what the reviews say. But almost certainly, even though this looks rather nice, this is probably asset flip skins, and it probably is just some people. Since it's just an interactive movie, it's probably people just standing around talking, and it's probably incredibly weird in some way. But I'll wait, and we'll see if we can actually check it out. So here's this Gamma Sutra article. Minecraft gets free educational content to help enable distance learning. Microsoft is bringing free educational content to Minecraft to help families. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. The thing, though, to get it, and it's not getting mentioned here, is how do you get it? Like, I saw on slickdeals.net, they also talked about that. I guess we just have to click here and see. Educational content. How do you install it? Yeah. It's on the Minecraft Marketplace. Okay. Free educational content in the Minecraft Marketplace, and I just don't think I've done anything in the Minecraft Marketplace, which I think for the Java edition is its own separate thing. Complete content list here. So I'm now like five links down into the Minecraft place. So here's something free. Free. Do you just install all of this? Like what happens when you say Jigs Guide, Redstone Basics? Get this item. And then at that point it's probably going to ask me to log in. See, this is inherently the problem with having a system that was added on top of a system that just didn't exist originally. Like Minecraft Java Edition definitely didn't have a marketplace, didn't have anything like that. And that link has brought me to a completely black screen. So I don't know what that was supposed to do, but it didn't do it. Okay, well, I guess I will have to come in later and just install all of this. And this is not really what I was expecting as far as the educational content that they were talking about. I thought they were going to unlock education mode, which probably is already free, or have something a little bit more consistent there. But whatever. It's something, and it's something you might as well grab while it's free. And the thing about Minecraft in general is that I wouldn't be surprised if kids today who are playing Minecraft end up having their kids 10, 20 years from now. I guess 20 years would be a closer estimate, playing Minecraft also. So having a collection of really old maps that might not even run on newer versions may still be worth it. I certainly have seen that in the case of like NES games and arcade games, is that people who were playing Donkey Kong in the arcade or really, really old games like that are now having their kids play it, and they'll play it and enjoy it for a while and then eventually get bored of it. But the fact that they don't just immediately reject it is probably an amazing turn of events. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, Alt Control GDC Showcase, Mutually Assisted Destruction, or MAD. This is a teaser for a game that they were going to showcase, which seems like it is not so much a video game as it is its own little separate system. Kind of a great example of a game that just would not work in the real world because it's it involves way too many specialized hardware parts. And we probably will see a few more things promoting things that were supposed to be at GDC. I believe GDC also said they were going to come back in the summer, which I think is probably crazy to make that claim. That's highly questionable why you'd even make that claim when there's just so much uncertainty right now. Let's play this. And then play this. And I think I probably have one. Gematsu has Bright Memory Infinite new gameplay trailer. Original Bright Memory full release launches March 26th. Bright Memory, I believe, was this really good looking, interesting kind of tech demo. Nope, this is a totally different game than what I was thinking of. There was like this Chinese game that was kind of a tech demo, and then they said it was so popular they were going to try and make a full game out of it instead of a single level. This I've seen nothing of. It looks like it might be interesting, but it also looks like it is trying to mix a bunch of things. I don't know if this is a VR game where you're controlling your movement with a controller, or if this is just a first-person shooter with some of the elements of Bulletstorm. Yeah, it looks very much like it's stealing a lot of the ideas from Bulletstorm, which is not a bad thing in my opinion, because the idea of the leash, laser leash, and sliding and kicking from Bulletstorm is an interesting idea that should have been stolen. And it's been years since Bulletstorm came out, even though there was a re-release. Alright, let's do this. Can we win? Come on, game. Well, he's going to take a while to resolve. Komatsu has an article, War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius is now available in the West. Is there a video here? A mobile Final Fantasy game. These side story Final Fantasy games, typically not really worth your time. And this looks fine, but not particularly special. Although, in a lot of ways, it might be a better game than half of the gacha games that I've played. I guess it is also worth mentioning that the one mobile game that I still am enjoying, Destiny Child, is wrapping up its current narrative storyline and is going to move into the next world boss event, if that makes any sense to you. They're moving on to their next event is the shorter way to explain that. And it's just continuing to add more content. Although there is a little bit of a complaint I have to make with the fact that they added this new spa system that was supposed to ultra level your characters that were already max leveled. Excuse me. No, I'm wearing out my voice. I'm actually capable for the first time in probably a week or two to sit in a chair long enough to actually wear out my voice. But yeah, the spa system where your characters hang out in spas requires a unit of currency called a bath towel to use the spa for 6 hours. And to get the bath towels, you need coins, and you're not really getting coins enough to continuously afford the bath towels. So it is either going to drain a lot of my stamina, which I need for other things, or I'm just not going to be able to use that system as much as I theoretically could, which sucks because I would prefer to be able to do that. Alright, so we want to get rid of this guy, I guess. I guess that's what we want to do. But he's going to take out enough of my health to make it a little bit more dangerous to try to win here. I need 4 creatures on the field. Well, I need 3 more creatures and potentially one of these. If I can get that, then I can win. Otherwise, I might be able to win another way here with the Witch's Oven. With a Witch's Oven. With a Witch's Oven. That's 3. I need 1 more. You do that. And you do that. And then we'll do that just because it's safe. Take the action. Play. I mean, I can continue to do that. And then we just sacrifice all of these. And that should be more than enough to win. This turn. Like, one turn victory. Not really, but one turn turnaround at least. This guy is being really, really slow to respond. Or the connection is being really slow. I haven't been watching the stream, so if the stream did end up ending again, apologies. I guess nobody's hearing me if I say that, but whatever. Yeah, I feel a lot better with this today's stream. I'm still not going on to any like major rants, and I'm never gonna be super hyped YouTube personality streamer, super high energy type people, but yeah, I am now just running into the standard problem of my chair being uncomfortable more than anything else. That being said, my back and hip problems mostly seem to happen right after I stand up, so it is the process of standing up that usually triggers spasms. But I can address that fairly simply by just not record at that time, and then lying in bed, which is what I plan on doing. Anyways, it really sucks to be an insomniac when you're social distancing like this, because even though you've got all the time in the world and you should be able to sleep, anxiety levels in general are higher. Which doesn't help with insomnia, certainly. And insomnia doesn't care about the fact that you have extra time or not. I suppose like you could try sleeping pills, and I've got some, and I'll try some of that, I guess. But generally speaking, you still are going to run into problems. Alright. So we've got 8 out of 15 victories. You need 10 to get experience. We need 200 more experience to get up this level. This ends in 21 days. So as soon as Monday rolls around, it'll be rather surprising if we're not at rank 90 by Monday. But as soon as Monday runs around, we would then at that point have a couple of another weekly experience of daily quests to get more experience. So we should get how many uncommon cards? I'm guessing somewhere around 8 or 9 minimum. That would be my guess. And yeah, we got this one, Screaming Shield. And I'm just not going to play anymore on screen because I want to just wrap this up. So we've got a game on Steam here called Fire Guild, which looks kind of like a mobile game. You're hot air balloons putting out fires. Looks a little too mobile-y. Nobody ever would put out fires in a hot air balloon because the hot air would instantly cause the balloon to shoot upward. So that's a dumb concept. It's $2.09 discounted. It's English and Russian. It's probably a low effort Russian mobile port if I was to guess. Let's see. Komatsu has an article here. Sega launches a 60th anniversary website. Sega Shiro character. Is this the character, Sega Shiro? Sega does a lot of things, so like it's not going anywhere. Yep, very Japanese commercials here. I really don't know how many Japanese people actually watch TV or watch much TV. I'm gonna skip over the games and just cover the news. Komatsu has an article. Animal Crossing New Horizons sold 1.88 million retail copies in the first 3 days in Japan. And from what I hear, Animal Crossing New Horizons now has like crafting and really has some gameplay mechanics in it that they've improved on quite a bit compared to the previous Animal Crossing games, making it a slightly better experience, although it is still going to be mostly a Stardew Valley type experience. Either you're going to like it or you're not. It's not going to have too much to do other than just running around and accomplishing small tasks, fishing and growing plants. Moving on, Komatsu, the Coma Double Cut collection is coming to the Switch on August 6th in Japan. That includes the Coma Recut and the Coma 2 Vicious Sisters, which these series seem to have been fairly well received, well enough for them to then try and put the horror series into a Switch bundle. Komatsu has this article. The Compile Heart president teases an announcement for the final entry in a popular numbered series in March 28th due issue of Denginki PlayStation. Now, for Compile Heart, that almost is the Neptunia series. Neptunia series has been going fairly long, so yeah, I could see them ending and maybe trying to do something else after so many of those JRPG games are out. OBS said they were seeing so many new streamers, they put 5 simple tips for new streamers. Let's see, it says keep yourself up to date, save overlays, alerts, and tech for later, ignore your viewer count, play what you love, save some games for yourself, and in conclusion, so not any like technical tips, just here's what we think you should do. When I don't even know if OBS's development team in particular has any expertise as to what content creators should do, because it's kind of separated. It's almost like the IT department telling a business how to run their business. Twitch support is having some more trouble, as everything is, but Twitch is still pretty bad. We're currently investigating issues with streams showing as offline. Hang tight. We resolved this issue with streams showing offline. Yeah, everybody's still having trouble. Twitch still kind of a terrible place to stream from the content creator's perspective, from my opinion at least. Komatsu has this article, Phantasy Star Online 2 for PS Vita to end service on August 19th. Phantasy Star Online in general, though, still seems to be in some form or fashion supported and getting, seems like, new content. Crazy as that sounds. We already talked about the Stadium Makers program, so we don't need to talk about that again. Oh, we already talked about the Minecraft educational content, so we don't need to talk about that again. Here's some more pictures from the TechRaptor article. HP reveals new VR headset in collaboration with Microsoft and Valve, which honestly, that might be the better way to reveal the reference this. This is an HP VR headset that got assistance from Microsoft and Valve, and I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft and Valve were more than willing to give assistance to any VR headset developer as long as they don't have to really pay for it. And I don't know why I'd specifically want to buy an HP VR headset, because they don't sound like they know what they're doing as far as the VR world is concerned. Gamer Sutra has an article, Industrial Toys is hiring a senior software engineer in Pasadena, California. Although, again, California seems to be completely locked down, so I doubt that really would... too much hiring is going to go on. TechRaptor has an article, Doom Eternal's Friends Management is a mess. Which, yeah, I have no interest in ever playing Doom Eternal's multiplayer, and I don't think many people really should have interest in it, and I don't think many people will. So, that probably isn't too big of an issue. Komatsu has an article, Inti Creates has 3 unannounced titles in development. I think I've heard of Inti Creates, but I couldn't tell you what they've made. Mainly known for Azure Striker Gunvolt and the Galgun series, but they also developed games such as Blaster Master 0, 1, and 2, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, and Dragon Marked for Death. So, yeah, there's some variety there as far as what they could be working on. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon being the 2D version of Bloodstained, not the main Bloodstained game. Marvelous has trademarked Grand Dark and Giga Strikers in Japan, plus a few other trademarks. Level 5 also trademarked Star System and Biking, My Hero 1 Justice, Gunslinger Stratos, and Fantasy Days and Kyusou Days. So, trademarks to games that we have not one bit of information about. I think we probably already talked about this, but OpenCritic has this. GameStop finally closed its stores amid COVID-19 after getting a lot of bad press that they really didn't need. And I don't think they actually have closed all their stores at all. I think they've closed their stores to customers, but they still are doing delivery or pickup. But maybe they finally are closed. But I have certainly seen some responses where some people are threatening to cut off power and water to come to stores that don't close. I've seen some talk of stores trying to sue the government to remove these shutdown orders. I saw one politician saying if people don't get out of the parks, they will send police with flamethrowers, which would be a war crime. Flamethrowers are not really allowed under the Geneva Convention. And certainly not like the right response anyways. Because if you were to start that kind of precedent, of that kind of just like, we're going to literally attack you with weapons of war, attack our own citizens. There's a lot of countries like China that would be more than happy to follow suit there, and it would be another Ho Chi Minh Square type experience event. Moving on, Half-Life Alyx on OpenCritic is getting a mighty rating, 92% average, 95% critics recommend. Yeah, from what I hear, it is a great game. It's just not a game like any other game that I am willing to put such a amount of money and effort to, that I would want to buy a Valve VR headset, which I don't even think you can buy right now, because they were sold out even before COVID-19. And so yeah, spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to play one good VR game is not realistic. Alright, now we're going to just go over the games. We can power through this. We have a game called Survived on Steam. It looks like it is an asset flip first-person shooter. Looks like there's basically nothing here. Fighting zombies. Early access, $8.99, English only. We have a game here called Total Lockdown that's already reviewed as mixed. It's a massive multiplayer game, player versus player. $26.99 discounted, only online PvP, so I wouldn't cover it anyways. Bunch of languages. I'm running the risk here by just jumping from page to page that I'm going to show something not YouTube family friendly, but I think I'm fine. Next we have a game called BitVault, which looks like a mobile game, strategy game of some sort. Not impressive. $10.19, too expensive, discounted. Even when it's discounted to something too expensive. English only. Yep. Next we have Raytheon Chaos Force, which is also mixed. Looks like it's a kind of badly animated RPG, turn-based RPG system. It's free, and for it to be free and mixed really says something. It's English and Spanish Latin America, single player and online PvP with in-app purchases, so free with in-app purchases. This is the kind of game that if it was released in like 2000 would have been amazing, but now in 2020 it's totally not amazing. It looks like a PlayStation 1 game, or maybe a PlayStation 2 game. Next we have a game on Steam called Break the Web, which looks like it's just a surreal troll kind of joke game. It's $1.19 discounted, English and Russian. I did curate some of these games, but not everything, obviously. Next we have Output Pasture, which looks like it's a fight the line kind of tower defense game. I kind of like the art style, but I still hate tower defense games, so no to that. $8.09 discounted. English, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. Yeah, nothing there. We've been able to actually just burn through all these games and not put any of them on the fall list. In fact, quite a small number of games made it to the fall list this week, or this day. Next we have Monsters of Kanji, which is a low-effort RPG game. Yep. It's not an RPG Maker game, although it may be using RPG Maker. It just doesn't look like that tile set and that art style, but it still doesn't look good. Next we have Space Sergeants, which looks like a low-effort first-person shooter asset flip game. 59 cents discounted, English only. Alright, we have three more. Next we have Kingakimi, which says it's an RPG with a female protagonist. It looks like it's more of a visual novel, and it feels a little Chinese, but it might just be a feudal Japanese story. Regardless, English was not supported. It's discounted to $47.49. Japanese full audio and Chinese subtitle support. The art doesn't look bad. Unfortunately, English is not supported. That's kind of crazy, because that puts us in this weird position where this week there very well may have been more Japanese Eastern focused games that were good than Western games. Next we have Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. This is already on my follow list. I don't think there's any reason for me not to put it on the wish list. It has full English and full Japanese. There's a ton of DLC. Let's see how much that all would add together. If you're to buy it all, it's $96.49. Although some of this may overlap, and a lot of this seems like it is probably unnecessary stuff. But by my standards, this JRPG game reaches that level of quality. In all fairness, though, I may never get around to actually playing it. But yeah, it goes to the wish list. And then here we have Half-Life Alyx, overwhelmingly positive. So you have, while you're shooting all of this, the headcrab people, a lot of bobbing and weaving going on. Yeah, well, I'm not going to criticize the game any more than needs to. The game is overwhelmingly positive. Even if I did have something negative to say, it would just be based on what I've seen, which has been incredibly little. And I clearly am outvoted. $59.99 is not a bad price for a game that I assume is the full length of a regular game. But it is not just $59.99. It's also $59.99 plus owning a VR headset. So, like all VR games, it stays on the follow list. If I do get a VR headset, it probably is the first game I ever buy. But until that becomes the case, it stays on the follow list, or if that becomes the case. And that brings me to the Humble Bundle with no new bundles. And then that brings me to my Twitter feed, which I'm going to just scroll down. Crossplay shooter Rogue Company reveals gameplay. We already kind of saw that. There's probably very little bits of news that we'll get, since everybody is self-isolating. The authors of news articles are also going to do less work. Risk of Rain announces 2 updates and a free weekend from TechRaptor if you want to check that out. I'm not going to bother to open that article though. We have one game that came out while we were playing. Scroll down relatively fast here. Dead Cells receives a Half-Life Alyx updates, adds new weapons, skin, and diet. Didn't know you could eat food in Dead Cells. Here we have Susan Wojcicki retweeted, YouTube is booming with quarantine vlogs as creators strive to keep their audiences and themselves entertained. I don't know if Susan Wojcicki should be retweeting that, but it's not a terrible retweet. They're still trying to promote Borderlands 3 any way they can. There's promote selling merch for Borderlands 3, I think is what they were promoting. Well, Wario64, I just started following him and he retweeted out the Humble Bundles. So in theory, if he doesn't get too annoying and I have to question him, his information might be a more effective way of me covering new Humble Bundles without just having to look myself. Also, the BMOS sale apparently is going on Steam, where you can get Castle Crashers, Battle Block Theater, and Pit People on sale. Also from Wario64, he might be a very good source of news. Yep. I probably should try some new sources, new Twitter things to follow more often. Nefis Begins is free to own on Steam, which, alright, I don't think that's a particularly great game, but if it's free, it's free. The Yakuza franchise sale is on sale on the Humble Bundle. Yeah, it seems like he's going to get annoying really fast here, though. That's the problem. That's going to be the problem, is that if he's mentioning every sale, that's going to be a lot. The Polish Spring Festival Bundle is on sale on Steam, which Killing Floor is on sale on Steam. Yeah, he's literally gonna list everything on sale, isn't he? That's too many tweets. Too many tweets. And because he's got so many tweets, it's taking longer to scroll down than it should be. We're probably setting ourselves up for a decent lineup of things to have to cover on Friday. Friday's probably going to be a little bit longer than I would normally like it to be, but hopefully not too much more. I'm still scrolling down. I think I've almost hit the point where we started. Yeah, that's it. That's all the new news worth mentioning. Okay. Ideally, hopefully, the stream went fine. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good